Okay, with both clips off, you want to push the defroster ducting up a bit like that, and then push it clear to the left, and you'll slide off this little connector hose that goes to the air distribution box that's right here. And with that off, you can now pull this duct down. Got to do a bunch of wiggling around here. All right. All right. So it's a lot of fun. They say they build the heater box and then they build the whole car around it. Fortunately, it's pretty flexible plastic. And I tell you, there's just barely enough room. You have to distort that end a bit. This is the whole culprit right here. You actually have to mash it into that shape in order to get it out of there. So, we're getting close. Okay, with that duct out of there, then you can, the center duct, you can pull off of the left duct. Get that out of there. Even though these look like they're collapsible, that's hard plastic. They aren't going to collapse. Okay, so now we have this left defroster duct completely disconnected. Now, the speedometer cable goes through it. So, you got to pull your speedometer cable out of there. That means jacking the car up and disconnecting it from the transmission, because it won't pull that way very easy. You can pull the end off the speedometer cable and then you're no good. So you want to pull it this way. And what I do is, on the end that goes into the transmission, I'll tie a string on it. That way, as I pull it out, I've got a string so I can pull the speedometer cable back in. Okay, now we can grab this duct and pull it towards you. There we go. As you can see, that's necessary, and to just gain that much room for that heater box to come this way. Now, we're going to go to another parts car for the completion. So now, we have this box ready to remove. And like I mentioned to begin with, you don't need to disconnect the controls. These controls, the 250 controls, actually are different than the 280s in that they're a solid piece of plastic, so the knobs never break off. But the little knobs that go over these tabs always get lost. but they're definitely a sturdier construction. So what you need to do is push this through. Okay. Thusly, then we can pull this box backwards because we need those two water tubes to come through the firewall. Oh, I almost forgot. One thing that makes just a little more room to do this job is to remove some of this insulation right here, because you need every little amount you can get. So we're pulling this box. I have a little holder here for this wiring harness. As you can see, I'm bending it underneath the dash. And there's one over here underneath the dash, because you're going to want this box to be just as tight as you can to here. And there's a wire coupler right here. I'm wiggling it back and forth carefully, pulling it off. Okay, and there we go. And you wiggle it and move to the right. Make sure that this doesn't jam up. It's still loose, but the cables keep it kind of springy. So I'm moving this to the right. And this fan box is right up against this left support here. And this one lever is right up against the bottom of the dash, and the plastic housing is right against the dash as well. And this is where you might come up with some four-letter words to help you. But you get over here and very carefully push on that heater box as you wiggle it to the right. You want to be very careful pushing. You don't want to break that heater box. If you do, I have them. Yeah. You notice I'm doing that very gently. Make sure this control is staying with us. Now I've doubled it over towards the front now. I haven't room enough to do that. Now, by the way, if you have air conditioning, you will need to remove the air conditioning evaporator and the air conditioning part off the bottom of your dash. I'll do a video of that another time. Now, for the faint of heart, you're going to want to send your car to me to do this job. because if you've never done it and you want to keep your car, you want to have somebody do it that's done it before. But with my video, I think you should be able to do it yourself. It seems like there's no way it's going to come out of there, but it just takes a bunch of wiggling. And you keep moving that box that direction. Come on, sweetie. More moving it. Keep track of their controls. Make sure you don't break them. And there we go. So I'll get this out of the car and then I'll show you some aspects. But one thing that you want to do before you put it back in, and that is to remove that much of this insulation. And remove this insulation right up here in this area. I mean, you're losing a little bit of sound deadening. You can always replace the bottom one, but you just need that extra little bit of space. So you want to pull that stuff off of there. And you'll gain a little more distance in order to have room to pull that sucker out. Okay, now to take the heater box plastics apart so you can get to the heater core, use a couple of pointed punches, one in the hole there, one in the hole there, and just bend them together, and this clip comes right off, and it has clips like that around the box. And different kind of clip here that are already gone. And then as you note, here's the grommets that I pushed through the firewall. And before you reinstall your box, you want to put new grommets on, but they're actually easier. You want to fit them first to make sure they're tight on here. Then take them off, put the heater box in, and then push the grommets on. And when you tighten up the 3 bolts that hold this in place, you want to adjust your box so each tube is pretty much in the middle of the firewall hole. Now, let's turn this box around here. So this is the inside of the car, and the one bolt on the left is right here, and there's an equal one on the right. And at this time you can replace cables if necessary. What I've found is simply use some spray grease, not WD-40, spray grease on these cables. At the ones inside the box, you can get 2 when the box is apart, but these that are exposed, you can get to them. Oh, I forgot to tell you about this. I'll mention that in a bit here. But anyway, you can get these controls wiggling. The 250 SE has 1 heater valve. The 280 SE has 2 heater valves. And two cables. These bottom ones control the water valves that are right here. Now, as you notice, we got a cable that's not hooked to something. This actually goes up under here and it's broken off. So normally it looks like that when you get the controls out of there. All right, I'm sure you're gonna have a lot of fun.